Okay, we've very quickly constructed a graph of y equals 1 over x squared. You see I messed up. I pretended to make a mistake, without thinking. Anyhow, here's the graph. Everybody knows how to construct it. So over here is the graph in the first quadrant, and we've asked for the slope between this point and this point. Now, some people are trying to copy everything on the board when I say figure out that slope, right? I don't know I really saw anybody do that, but there's a strong tendency for people to do that. Okay? You don't want to have that tendency. You want to get immediately into whatever it takes to get this slope, right? And one thing you could do is you could just slop down a graph. You don't even have to put a scale on it. Just put the 2 points down here for reference and put the coordinates. Okay? Might be a good way to go about doing it. You could do it here. You put the coordinates here. Okay? But you could just abstract it to this. You don't even need to draw this. Just this point and this point. Okay. Now, the slope is rise divided by run. It's not y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, although it is. But we think rise divided by run, and as I just said, to emphasize what I said, it's because rise has meaning, run has meaning that you don't get if you use the formula. Okay? So we think rise divided by run. Okay, so slope is rise divided by run. Okay, well, to further picture this, we draw what I call a fundamental triangle, which is a right triangle with sides, legs, parallel to the coordinate axes, with vertices at these 2 points. Okay? So, this is one vertex. Okay? And we want to have legs of this triangle that are parallel to the coordinate axes. So what direction do I go from this vertex?
Down.
That's one choice. What's another choice? I'd go either way, right? I would still have what I call a fundamental triangle. So I'm going to go down just because if I go over, I'm going to go through my labeling here. Okay? But depending on how you got it labeled, if you want to go over before you go up or down, that's fine. Now, I only go down this far. Why? Because my next leg has to be horizontal. Well, the next leg is not going to be attached to this vertex because I've already got a leg in this vertex, right? It's going to have to be attached to this vertex. It's going to have to be horizontal. So there's really no choice except that I could have drawn it up here just as well as down here, right? Wherever it's easier to label. Okay? And now we call this the rise. And this is the run, except I need a direction. So do I want to go from this point to this point, or do I want to go from this point to this point? Again, you have a choice. It makes no difference which point is first and which point is second. But we have to follow this path from whichever point you think is first to whichever point we think is second. So I either have to go this way or this way, right? Well, usually I'm going to go left to right, but sometimes you don't know. Sometimes this thing's symbolic, and you don't know which one's to the left and which one's to the right. Okay? If everything's in symbols, you might not know. So you can just make an arbitrary choice, but I'm going to do this. So in this direction, can somebody tell me what the rise is? Well, what number does the rise start at? What number does it end at? I'm sorry?
1 and 4.
Well, it starts at 4 and ends at 1, right? Because of the directions I drew those arrows. Now, if you'd have drawn the arrows backwards, then you could say 1 and 4 in that order, okay? But you want to keep the order straight. The order needs to be consistent with your arrows. Otherwise, you might go in one direction from the y's and the opposite direction from the x's and get the negative of the correct slope, okay? So you want to be careful about that, but that's easy. You know, you're not likely to make that mistake anyway. Still, we want to make sure, right? So the rise is from 4 to 1, and the run is from what?
1/2 to 1.
From 1/2 to 1. So the rise equals, okay, if we go from 4 to 1, what's the change in our quantity?
3.
No. That's the magnitude of the change, but it's not the change. If we go from 4 to 1, if you got $4 and then you got $1,
You lost $3.
what was the change?
-3.
Negative $3, right? You lost $3. That's important. If you say, well, changing my money was $10 million today. Oh, I hope that was upward. Okay? If it's downward, that would bankrupt most of us. Okay, so you got to be careful. Now, this point is important. The rise is and then I just wrote it down totally wrong. Okay? 1 minus 4, which is -3. And the run equals, same idea, 1 minus 1/2, which is 1/2. So the slope is what? It's rise divided by run, which is -3 divided by 1/2. What's -3 divided by 1/2?
Would be -6.
Again?
-6.
-6, yeah. I mean, think of it. Count by 1/2s. You know, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, right? Think half dollars and dollars. Okay? You probably haven't seen a lot of half-dollar pieces. Yeah, they kind of, I don't know, they've been phased out or something. But anyhow, think of it like that. But also formally, this is -3 divided by 1/2, which is -3 times 2 over 1, which is -6, right? That's how you divide fractions, and you got to know that. Okay?